Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast. Two queer trans women. That's us. We're wifey types. Have a bit of a silly little catch-up about media we've consumed in the week and just have a bit of a silly time.
And Smudge is here.
She's very soft.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard that about her. She is very soft.
I have heard this rumor, yeah.
She's small and soft and baby,
and a baby, yes.
What have you been playing this week, my love?
Oh, well... we played a thing together.
We started playing a thing together.
Experience together.
Yeah. Should we talk about Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast?
We shall. So this is a game from Possum Creek Games, who gave us Wander Home, and I believe is working on some other stuff at the moment. This is a sort of a cozy, dice-free game of collaborative storytelling.
Yes.
About a magical bed and breakfast run by a witch who's kind of grumpy.
Yeah. There's always exactly as many rooms as are needed for all of the lovely guests.
Except Gertrude.
Except Gertrude, who lives on top of the tumble dryer or the washing machine.
She lives on top of the dryer in the laundry room.
But otherwise, there's always exactly as many rooms as there needs to be for all the
And every room
residents.
is next to each other.
Yeah.
And don't worry about the canon layout.
Even if we previously said these places weren't next to each other, they're next to each other now.
Yep.
It's always September 15th.
It's always September the 15th.
And everyone's there for various reasons.
Yeah.
Little home for misfits, as it were.
So, I backed this, I want to say, like a year and a half ago. Maybe a little bit longer than that. And there was some lumps and bumps in the road getting this here. It was due for delivery August before last, 2023, through a number of reasons that, for some reason, cannot be discussed. I'm guessing involving someone involved in the logistics or whatever.
Yeah.
It got basically just held indefinitely, especially for like the European orders, and we backers had to put up with the fact that it was, where they had copies, they were taking it to trade shows and things.
Yeah.
And some people saying, like, oh, I could have bought this from my local shop. They had it there, but, like, I paid for a copy. I supported this thing, and now I haven't got my thing. I understand that very frustration as someone that had a pre-ordered Proteus controller, and then at Gamescom was like, wait, they're just selling these, despite the pre-orders not being out for several months? It's a weird feeling. Yeah, I mean, that, I guess, was a bit different. They had only faulty products there. And,
yeah. It turned out it was you can buy it early, but it'll be broken.
Buy our broken products.
More
on that in accessibility.
Yeah, but frustrating situation regardless.
It is a thing that had, when it was, like, first being marketed and, like, when it was first, like, released to the few people who got theirs in that brief window of some people got theirs. There were lots of people on, like, YouTube doing, like, Let's Plays of, say, like, 10 or 12 chapters.
Yeah.
So, like, the stuff from the easy chapters of this book, and it's entirely non-chronological. Like, chapter 1 is buried somewhere deep in the game, and I think it's one of the, like, more complicated late game missions, whereas it starts on chapter 5, and it is about one of the characters, Hey Kid, who is a demon child who was basically abandoned on the doorstep of the bed and breakfast many, many years ago, and Hey Kid is filled with energy and might very literally explode in a ball of fire if they don't manage to let off all their energy. And Gertrude, who is a bit of a misfit, a runaway who wears a mask.
For gender purposes.
Maybe for gender.
Seems like gender from what I saw.
Gender was mentioned.
Yeah.
It is a curious story. Those were the two characters who was, like, the rules are you can play with any of the characters that are specifically mentioned have to be in the chapter.
Yeah.
And then anyone else can play as any of the unlocked characters that exist. So that could be characters around the bed and breakfast, like Amelie, the robot who works as the maid, Sal, who works as the front desk person. Yazeba is unlocked from the beginning, but we haven't popped her out yet. But what did you think of Gertrude?
Gertrude is a character who I read through this character's like starting personality traits and the fumbles that they are prone to making, and was like, I feel a little called out here.
And a matching birthday.
Yeah, a little bit. This is like a character who is nervous, anxious, shy teenager who will try and take on more than they can really manage, and has a bit of a problem with asking for help from others. And the more I'm reading through, the more I'm like, this is all feeling very familiar.
I mean, I figured that because Hey Kid, the mission was about Hey Kid, as I was playing the Concierge, which is this game's version of a GM. It's largely a GM-less system, but the Concierge is just the person who reads the story and knows the rules. And that's kind of it. We played a relaxed games, and the concept of that is that you will have just a bunch of tokens in the middle of the table, and you will be trying to do things to either earn or get rid of tokens. In this case, we had to try and get Hey Kid to 13 tokens, but anytime they, like, for example, just got bored and gave up, that was returning tokens back to the pile. So you were trying to come up with games to play, various ideas.
But having to deliberately fumble things on my part to get tokens with which I could suggest games. So I had to be doing my characters like fatal flaws in order to be able to suggest things to try and keep you bumbling along.
Yeah. There was there is this like interesting concept of bingos and whoopsies. Whoopsies are like your character flaws, but things you can do to get tokens in relaxed missions. And bingos, you have to have a token from a whoopsie or another source in order to spend it on doing something really positive. Like, I know with Gertrude, one of yours was keep a secret that you shouldn't versus keep a secret that you should.
Yes. Having two different versions of keep a secret brackets, what kind... should you have done that or not, is an interesting balance.
Yeah, it was an interesting idea. We've got the Night Porter box. So we have a nice set of metal coins that came in there. We have a really nice deck of cards, which are beautifully illustrated and have lovely card backs. We have a bag of little tokens that are very similar to ones that we've seen in games like Deep Rock Galactic and Caverna. It is that sort of very strange, this is usually a mineral or something in a board game.
The standard ruby slash,
yes. Yeah, that I don't know who initially came up with this shape, but it is fascinating that it ends up in so many things.
Yes, the uneven shape, you got some kind of red stone out of the cave wall shape.
It's in Red Rising as well, I think that's the token in there. But, and as well as that, we also have the ledger book, which I didn't realise when we first looked at it, and maybe I knew a long time ago, but it's been a very long time since I backed this. So just the concept that you have this one book, you have one book that is the game itself, and all of the rules, and all of the character sheets, and all of the missions, and all of the journeys and tracks and things that we will come to in a minute. And then this other book is basically... it has like tear-off strips in it for, hey, this is just like everything to get you started. All of your character sheets are already printed on nice paper stock, and all of your tracks are here. So you're not marking your original book, and you don't have to go and get tons of things printed out.
Yeah.
But I did get a PDF copy as part of backing it as well, so if ever needed, I can like completely recreate that. But it is quite a nice idea of just going, here is this one box that has all of the cool shit in it. And just being able to go, okay, we've got new characters. Here is a character sheet ready to go for them. Yeah, considering how I used to be like, you never draw or anything in a book.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it is perforated, it feels very specifically like it is okay to do that.
The book gave you permission.
The book gave me permission by being perforated.
Yeah.
And I like that. As a whole thing. And I look forward to playing more of this game. Yeah. It's funny because I was like, I'm still really angry about how long it took and the complete lack of communication. But sometimes going like 6 months at a time with like no feedback about where our fucking product was.
But then it turned up and we played some and it was charming.
It was really charming. I like it's got a blurb on the back by Brennan Lee Monaghan.
Yes.
Talking about how like sweet it is and what a nice experience it is. And I was like, yeah, I can see why he would say that. It's got a lot of like very high praise from people you will have heard of.
It is a nice, charming excuse for some light role play.
Yeah, and I like that it is that sort of fun storytelling thing. If anything, it's less complicated than Wander Home.
Yeah,
at least so far. Like I know that in the I think it's like frenzied chapters. You will have like a deck of cards, and you're using it as like a random generator. So pick like if you got like a king or a queen, it will be something. If you got a particular suit, it will mean something. And I quite like that as a random generator. Seems quite a nice idea. Like generally in a lot of games, I do prefer a shuffle deck to flip over, unless it's a deck building game, and then I usually really hate that. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I've enjoyed the first chapter. I've read the blurb for the second chapter, so I am looking forward to giving that a go.
Nice.
What about you? What have you played?
I've mostly been playing, I've been going back to various speedrunning games that I haven't speedrun in like 3 years, and one of those that I've come back to while waiting for my North American copy of Babysitting Mama to show up is I've gotten back into Cooking Mama Cookstar speedrunning, and I forgot how addictive that game is to speedrun. I forgot how real immediately engaging that game is, not as a standalone game, but as a vehicle for high score chasing. So I have been trying to reclaim, I was like, I want to start with one of the small, short number of recipes records to try and get back into doing the run, so that, like, any individual run isn't too long. I don't have to go more than, say, 10 minutes without making any mistakes to get, like, a flawless run.
Right.
So I came back to the 5 vegetarian recipes any percent run. In the 3 years since I've been speedrunning this game, a couple of people had overtaken my previously set record. I had a record of, I think, 9 minutes 58 seconds, and the new first place was like 9 minutes 15. I did one Twitch stream for about 3-4 hours of trying to retake this record. Within the first like 40 minutes, I'd gotten back into second place.
Nice.
First place, very well optimized. It's a very little in the way of mistakes first place run. But the thing that's been really reassuring me that like I can retake this record and that it is in my grasp is instead of looking at like there are various ways you can set up the speedrun timer to track your sort of progress and how much better you're getting at doing a speedrun. And LiveSplit as a program, its default is whatever the best run you did with like the shortest final time, whatever that run was, it'll show you the like recipe 1, recipe 2, recipe 3, recipe 4, recipe 5 times for that run. But what I've instead set it to is sum of best times, which is show me the fastest I ever did recipe 1, the fastest I ever did recipe 2, etc., and like the hypothetical best time I could get if I strung together my best attempts, that I've had in the past on each individual recipe. And over the course of that first stream, I was chipping that sum of best segments down little by little, until I got it down to 9:15, and I was like, my best real time, string it all together run had been like somewhere in the 9 minute 20 something seconds.
Still pretty close.
But I was like, now that I've seen my sum of my best segments added up together hit 9:15, I know I can theoretically do this. And I kept chipping away. I did a little bit over lunch today. I did a couple of runs. And that sum of best segments is now down to 9 minutes and 10 seconds, which means theoretically I've got like 5 seconds of time to play with. Compared to like the best I've ever done, I can make about 5 seconds worth of mistakes. And what that means for me in practice, having done a few runs of it, is I can't afford to make any of the big mistakes. If I make any mistakes of like, I accidentally am grating the cheese too fast and I throw the cheese away, or I'm hitting the mochi with a hammer too fast and I hit the hand, anything that like the game is going to have like a unique animation and a few seconds of stopping to deal with, that's probably not going to get me the world record. But if I can avoid, like, there's only a small handful of these throughout the 9 to 10 minute run. It's grating the cheese too fast. It's cracking 3 eggs, not accidentally breaking any of the eggs by doing them too roughly, pounding the mochi with the hammer, and rolling certain ingredients around, like trying to bread things, put them in the egg yolk and bread them. Mm-hmm. As long as I don't mess up any of those, I've got a bit of leeway to, like, I can be a little suboptimal, I can be like a second behind my best time per recipe, and still probably get that record. So while I was doing these practice runs over lunch, I was like, I'll just do a few of them. I almost beat the record. I screwed up one little thing. I got a time of 9:15.45.
And you weren't recording it?
I was recording.
Oh, okay.
Well, the nice thing is, because I'm speedrunning it on PS5, worst case scenario, I use the record my last 15 minutes of gameplay, and I can submit that. The problem being 9 minutes 15.45. I've not looked at the fraction. I don't know what the fractions of a second are for this other runner, but the leaderboard's all in whole seconds.
Right.
So I think if I submitted this time, I would be joint first, and I'm like, no, I want to take first. I know I can get.
Mine.
I know I can get sub 9:15. I can hit that 9:14 barrier. So I'm continuing to go. I haven't submitted a time yet, and I'm like, I know I can do it.
Get 'em.
I've got like 5 seconds of wiggle room in my sum of bests. Before this week is done, I'm gonna take first place, and it's been really nice. It's been really nice feeling excited about this game again,
Yay.
and having a time to beat that's like 4 hours or so of attempts. I'm like, oh, this is doable, but I'm gonna have to be good. And it's a really nice place to be in, of like a 10-minute run where I'm like, 10 minutes. I can reasonably do a 10-minute run where I don't make any of the common mistakes.
Yeah.
And I just have to get, like, the problem I come across is when I'm, like, 4 recipes deep out of 5, and I'm recognizing I'm on pace, and I have to not let myself get overexcited and screw it up at the last minute, because I'm like, I'm nearly there. So that's how Cooking Mama Cookstar's going.
This is the one that had all the controversy, right?
This is the one that released on Switch, then got taken off the eShop, and people, this was never true, but people said it was to do with it was Bitcoin mining on your Switch. No, it was just poorly optimized and it made your Switch run hot because it was not a well-made game.
Yeah.
Then physical copies went on sale on Switch and then it went away. Then it got sold on PlayStation physically and digitally, and then it got taken off of there too. And then the rights holders for Cooking Mama said they never had the rights to use the Cooking Mama name. They were not supposed to be releasing Cooking Mama stuff. Oops. So now you can only get it on PlayStation and Switch under the name Yum Yum Cookstar. And it's almost the same game, but with the Cooking Mama stuff stripped out of it. So it is the one that had some weird controversy around it. And it's not a good game, but I do find it oddly compelling to speedrun. And I'm gonna slowly work on retaking all my first place records in this game. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be the champion.
I believe in you.
So what about you? What you been playing?
I played indie hit of whatever year it came out, Firewatch.
Oh yes,
a game I've heard a lot about but never actually played. What to say about this? Well, I didn't really know what to expect. I had managed to avoid all spoilers, or if I was spoiled at any point, I had probably forgotten it. This game is beautifully designed, like the world that you wander around, this national park that you're wandering around in the US, in Colorado, I think. It's only been a few hours and I've already forgotten. It is like a beautiful thing. It's interesting to learn about like the service that like keeps a watch over these areas and the sorts of things they have to worry about. There's also like a whole mystery going on, stuff to unravel and try and work out what's going on with that. The frustration and the hate that boils in my heart every time I found a beer can on one of the trails.
Yeah.
Well, I'm cleaning all of this up. Yeah, it's a really interesting story. it certainly makes you wonder. I am curious how much your choices make any real difference.
My understanding is it's pretty linear.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought. Like, it felt like choices were made that either meant nothing or would just slightly alter a conversation later on.
Yeah.
Like, at one point in the intro, you're asked to pick which of two dogs and what you would call that dog.
Yeah.
And then at some point, someone asks you a question and you can respond to talking about your dog.
It's interactivity to make the people feel more alive more than it is to fundamentally change what story you're going to experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is fascinating, and the mystery is very mysterious.
That it is.
I was like, I really want to know what this character who has just been a voice throughout this entire game looks like. I'm curious.
Yes, the person you're talking to on the other end of the radio.
Delilah.
Yes.
And every time that my character decided to call her, I was like, "Hey there, Delilah.
Hey there, Delilah.
We got to do the thing, right?" Yeah, it's a fascinating narrative. I see that it has a director's commentary, so I might play through that because I feel like now that I've played through it, I know roughly what I do. I also feel like I know the area now because of having done that. So I think it will probably be easier to get around. But yeah, I really had a good time with it. It only crashed once, I think. I accidentally went and did one thing before something else. And then when I tried to do the other thing, it just sort of... I was trying to open a storage cache using the same code that I'd been told was the same code for all of the caches throughout the entire park, and it didn't work. And when I tried to back out, I suddenly was looking at my own backpack, and my arms and legs were there. There's no head on that character. It's surprisingly how much in your body you are and how much of a body you have. Because very often in those games, they don't even bother with stuff like that. But I guess they have to convey the jumping off of high things and climbing up stuff and rappelling down lines. It is a fascinating game. I was sad to see the big fire get bigger. Although, as soon as I saw it was Cottonwood, I was like, oh yeah, I see how this happens. Have you ever encountered Cottonwood, ever?
I don't know. What is...
So, it basically does this thing where it just, bursts and just leaves these, seed pods, a bit like dandelions.
Yeah.
And if you, walk through an area where it is seeding, it just looks like snow.
I know the stuff,
There was one near where I used to live a couple of years back, and I'd never seen the like of it before. I was just walked into this this little clearing in the woods, and I was like, "What the fuck? Why is it so white?" And then a couple of years later, I heard someone talking about how dangerous cottonwood is because the easiest way to get rid of that stuff is to burn it, but it's massively flammable. And if the area is dry, it can absolutely fuck up everything around it. So it was interesting to know a thing about that.
Yeah,
but yeah, I had a good time with it, even if the ending is sort of quite sad and melancholy. But I guess it is about taking a summer out to do a thing, which is usually the reserve of teenager story, coming of age stories. And this is very much a guy in his, I want to say, 30s?
Yeah, it's almost midlife crisis-y. I'm at a turning point. I need to just...
I'm running away to join the fire service.
I'm taking a year off to go live in the woods.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was really interesting, and I look forward to seeing what that commentary is like. I did have the moment of... The end credits. There is a point in the game where you find a disposable camera, and during the end credits, it will show you back all of the pictures you took.
Yeah.
So it was the raccoon I found quite early on, the little turtle I found on a log, the deer I encountered, and then the thing you find in the cave right at the end of the game. because I was like, I might need evidence of this, so I had taken a picture of that, and then it's like, oh, there was a beautiful sunset there, there was a nice tree there was some wild art. Well, that kind of ruined the mood. That was that was an odd moment, but I really enjoyed it, and it still runs very well after all this time.
That it do.
Yeah. What about you? Have you played anything else?
The main thing I've been doing is I've gotten that fantasy critic league up and running.
Oh yeah, you've done your draws now.
Yeah, I
right?
talked a little bit about this last week. Essentially, it's around 10 of us are taking part in it this year, doing a who can predict the video game review scores that'll do well in the year ahead. We've done the initial draft now, so each person has snaking back and forth through the order, has drafted 5 games each that they think will score well, specifically will score above a 75 average on Metacritic.
Yeah.
Everyone has selected their counter pick of a game that someone else had already picked that they're like, I think that's either not going to do as well as you think, or it's going to get delayed out of the year, and it's all begun. So we have some early statistics and things now, which are interesting to look at.
How are the stats looking?
Well, I'll start by telling you about what I've got in the draft. So my current games in the draft are Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, just because I want to root for that game. I want to see it do good. Hollow Knight Silk Song. I'm betting on this being its year. It's going to happen. I put my money down on it.
Oh, it's got to happen now, right?
Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater.
Well,
so this is
a 3 was Snake Eater.
Yeah, 3, but Delta Triangle has 3 sides.
Oh.
This is a remake of Snake Eater that is happening for all the fancy new consoles. It looks very snazzy, and everyone likes Snake Eater. It's one of the Metal Gears everyone likes, and
Does it maintain its old style, or does it fuck around with camera angles like Silent Hill 2 remake?
Too early to know at this point.
We haven't had any.
It's not any substantial look at gameplay.
Okay.
But I was putting my votes on. It's a game that people like being given a high budget remake. I reckon that'll do all right. I wanted to put down a couple, somewhere during the year I had to pick 2 new game franchises that weren't sequels or anything. So for those I've got Wonder Stop, which is a sort of farming game, run a little cozy tea shop, in the woods, but it's written by the creator of the Stanley Parable. So it's inevitably going to get weird and surreal and not be quite what it seems. And I feel like betting on the Stanley Parable is a good place to be betting for something that's going to get good critical reception. And one called Dispatch, which is a Telltale adventure-style game where you're not a superhero, but you're working as essentially a 911, 999 dispatcher for superheroes. So, you're getting an emergency services call being there's a giant dinosaur attacking the city, and you're the person on the phone being like, right, let me see which heroes are available that have suitable skills to go send out.
A particular set of skills.
Yeah. You are the scrawny little so-and-so in an office that, Superman and Batman are routinely walking through.
You're the important dispatcher.
Yeah. It seems to be leaning in on comedy. It's got quite a list of famous voices doing its voice cast. Okay. I'm I could see that being a good little game. I'm willing to root for that one. And for counterpick, I counterpicked Deltarune. Toby Fox has said chapters 3 and 4 are coming out this year. I believe him on that. Those are going to be paid chapters, which people could start reviewing it once anything paid is out, I suppose.
I would say so.
It's a question of whether those chapters 3 and 4 will actually, I think they will make it out this year, but will they get review scores? Will they get scored reviews? And if they do, how much are those scores going to be tempered by, well, yeah, it's good, but I need to know how it ends. It's an incomplete thing. A review score is going to be going, I've paid for a thing that isn't finished, and that's tempering where my review score currently sits at.
Fair.
So
is this a Telltale style where you are paying for all of the chapters, or is this like you are paying by the chapter?
We don't know. Is still the question.
The first two were free.
Yeah, so the first chapter was free. It was surprise dropped as like a Halloween thing.
Yeah, I remember one of them being free at least.
Then chapter 2 was put out and also was free.
Okay.
Chapters 3 and 4 are going to be paid. It's going up to like 7 chapters. I'm assuming you buy 3 and 4 and like the other chapters will get added to it over time. Don't know that for certain. Like, there was enough content in chapters 1 and 2 that I could see you charging for 3 and 4, and that being enough content to charge for, potentially, but like, it's such a mystery how that game is going to be parceled out and whether people will score it and how hesitant people will be to bump a score up on it. And that was like, that's why I took my gamble there. I had to counterpick something. I went for that. The big bit of news we had today in the Fantasy League is we had the first one of the year of a game that someone picked in the draft has started getting review scores in. The day that we record this, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD started having reviews.
Donkey Kong returned.
Yeah, so this is a 2010 Wii game that has been remade a couple of times. It got remade on the 3DS with some extra levels. It's now in HD on the Switch. The Metacritic average is currently 78, which means that the person who picked it will get, they'll get like 3 points. It's better than losing points on it. But the reviews really seem to land on, this is a game from 2010 that, like, yeah, you made it look HD, but it feels like a nearly 15-year-old game. You've not really... The sequel did a lot of things better. This feels like the first attempt and is reminding us kind of why the first one wasn't as good. So, first one of the year, did get positive points. That's a great starting place. Not the, 80 or higher that I think was probably hoped for. We also got one of the other ones on the draft this year is Hyperlight. Oh,
not Drifter.
No, what's the other one? It's Hyperlight Breaker, which is the sort of, to my understanding, it's like a multiplayer take on the series, and that's a big question mark how that's going to go, because it's a thing that people loved for being single player is now multiplayer, and they're either going to love that or it's not going to go great. That came out today in early access, and is going to be in early access for around a year. The question mark on that is, are people going to give it a score right now, or are they going to wait until it hits 1.0? And if they wait till it hits 1.0, is it going to hit 1.0 this calendar year, or is it going to be slightly into next year?
Fingers crossed.
So that's now, for the person who drafted that, it's if it doesn't get review scores now, throughout the year, it's going to be do I have to use my one chance to drop a game to drop this? Like, how close to the end of the year do I get without dropping it?
We shall see, I suppose.
So it's all starting to happen. Yeah. We're only a few days post draft, and we're already starting to get like lots of very interesting discussions about games. And this is what I kind of hoped for out of it, is that
when's the first big show of the year?
Nintendo's probably going to have some directs and things.
Yeah.
The day we're recording this, rumors are we're about 48 hours away from the Switch 2 being revealed. So
probably not going to hear anything announced at GDQ, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think like the big, obviously the big one is in June when you get Summer Games Fest.
Yeah.
But I think the way it's looking, at least like from the end of this month, like basically at least once a week, something's going to be coming out that someone in our league voted on. And about once a week, we're going to have an opportunity to be like, oh, how did that do? How's this doing?
Yay.
And just an excuse to talk about games.
That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, and I'm very much looking forward to all of the years, like Nintendo Directs and Summer Games Fests, etc. now, because every one of them is going to be a great opportunity to go, ooh, I want to use some of my fantasy bucks to bid on that. I want to bid on that before someone gets it. Looking out for the things being announced that you want to snipe before anyone else gets them.
Yeah.
So that's how that's going. I'm very excited about this, and it's already gone well enough. I'm like, oh, I could see myself doing this on an annual basis. This is fun.
Yay.
You played anything else this week?
That's it for me.
Well then, time for this.
Come on down to 80s Party People. We've got everything you could need for a truly 80s party vibe. Sausage rolls, questionable-looking chipolatas, party rings, a single mini-roll on a paper plate, ice gems, a 10 a.m. wine-drunk aunt who hasn't seen you since you were 2, pass the parcel, but it's wrapped in newspaper, a sense of discomfort at the social setting, Salt and Shake crisps, Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters theme, played on a slightly stretched cassette tape, those paper crowns you usually only get in crackers these days, an ancient prophecy that speaks of the chosen one, who clearly isn't you, and of course, jelly and ice cream. 80s party people, let us take you back to that one very specific event which you've repressed, but you definitely know it really happened.
Hello.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, have you ever been, like, really, really into, like, a franchise or a series of books or something?
Yeah, like a game or an artist. Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yeah. And have you ever then, you know, having spent a decent amount of your childhood building perhaps your entire personality around this one franchise or series or whatever, and then found that the creator or someone involved in it is just an absolute shitheel, evil.
Yeah, I dread to think how much money and time and energy I have devoted to the works of absolutely god-awful, terrible people.
And, you know, it was a different time. You didn't know. You didn't have access to all this information. And even so, like, even when you did have, like, tons of information, there's all the information that you didn't learn until years later, and someone came out and was like, hey, bad person did bad thing.
Look, I can not support them any more going forward, but I do regret, you know, I wish I could do something about the time and energy and money that I dedicated to them before.
Well, regret ye not. This week's sponsor is IWantMyTimeBack.lol.net.
Tell me more.
It's a device that will, if a creator you love turns out to be evil, forcibly refund your time, energy, and money by siphoning it back from them.
Oh, I feel years younger, and hopefully that creator feels years older.
At least years poorer.
One can only hope.
And the joy of this is that if enough people do it, then that person will never have been famous in the first place, so all of the other people who were like, that's my favourite, I can't do a thing, then they will never have heard of it in the first place.
Oh, suction that fame dry.
Exactly. So you won't have to worry about the Mold Witch or the other guy. You know the one I'm talking about.
The abusey book guy.
The abusey book guy. That's the safe version of that sentence I was going to give. Well, that's IWantMyTimeBack.lol.net. Enter the code Q&PS. You've heard of us, right? And you can get one free celebrity of just, like, not have spent any time.
Oh, I
I'm going to have not spent years of my youth watching Jim Will Fix It on television.
Oh, that's a good one. You will get a lot of time back out of that.
True. Who are you going for?
Oh, I don't know. There are so many good choices.
Who's your freebie?
You know what? I used to be a Midnight Launches person. Give me back my dedication to the Mold Witch.
No more Mold Witch.
No more Mold Witch.
Well,
get out of my head those words I remember memorized from a pantomime about the Mold Witch property. Have them back.
That's IWantMyTimeBack.lol.net. Already it's doing great things for free. Ooh. Imagine what you could do if you pay them a bit of money to get rid of the rest of them. We could make the world so much better. Imagine. Well, imagine. So, what have you put in your ears?
I listened to one fairly lengthy thing this week.
You really did.
I binged through, and I say listened, I also kind of also watched this. Epic the Musical. This is a series of albums made by one person chronicling the Odyssey. The story of Odysseus, who, after the Battle of Troy, you know, with the big wooden horse and all that, just wants to get him and his 600 fellow soldiers back home.
It's the lad's ride home.
It is
from Troy.
Yeah,
and shit happens.
Shit happens. Odysseus goes on a personal journey while the gods fuck around with shit, and it is quite the tale. It is quite the adventure, which has been converted into 40 songs. The way I consumed this was there is a wonderful playlist that you can find on YouTube where there is an animatic or animated video for every single song across all of the albums, which was great for me. Give me a little visual to keep myself following along with. So yeah, just skimming over some of the tracks that like particularly stood out and some of the arcs that occur during it. The Horse and the Infant is like your big starting point for Odysseus. It's basically when attacking Troy, Zeus is like, hey, there's this baby, there's this infant here, and if you do not murder this child will grow up and will kill you and everyone you care about. And you have to wrestle with the question that comes up in the next track, Just a Man. At what point does something become what it's going to become? Is it morally okay to say, time travel back and murder a baby Hitler? At that moment, that is just a baby, but when does that baby become that monster of a thing that they will, of a person that they will become? How willing are you to cut something off at the source for what it might be? Interesting way to start for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in the early sections of this that are about, Odysseus initially very much wants to be a person who does the right thing, and he's got a very strong moral core of like, no, why would I kill when it is not absolutely necessary? I should show mercy. And then the story very much is about him getting slapped down time and time again, going, this is what happens if you show mercy. Are you willing to be a monster yet? Showing mercy is going to come back to haunt you. Other people are not just going to go, well, you showed me mercy, that's okay. Then no, they're going to go, fuck you, you let me live, I'm here for revenge. There are some good tracks around the battle with the Cyclops, around tracks like Polyphemus, Survive, going through... there's so much in here. So there's obviously like the journey through the underworld that happens, where a lot of the contemplation of do I change my moral line? Can I get home while still being the person I once was? There is a track called Mutiny. Great track. Wonder what happens in Mutiny. Who can say?
It's a mystery.
I like that there's a lot of songs from other characters' perspectives, particularly the gods. A lot of the tracks sung by the gods are very fun. And eventually we get to the end. There's a couple of songs I would say are very faithful to the source material of the Odyssey in ways that, like, maybe you might want a content warning for, because, like, yeah, there's some shit that goes down in the Odyssey that is a little jarring in this, while being, like, no, that is how that story goes. I would particularly give a bit of a warning for a track called Hold Them Down, which...
Already not liking the vibe here.
No, it is what it sounds to be. Some people who want to take the role of the king and have decided the best way to do that is by taking control of the current queen, and being fucking terrible people. And there is a comeuppance, but it is a heavy... I think it's well handled, but it is a fucking heavy...
Yeah.
It is a heavy track that is like...
One that requires a content warning?
Yeah. There's a couple of places like that, but I think largely it does a good job of not being faithful to the source material without, like, necessarily lingering on things it doesn't need to. Like, there is... If we're really going to dig into the Odyssey, there are points in the Odyssey where, like... There's one point where there is an implication of sexual assault against Odysseus by one of the gods. That is not part of this story. They still touch on the themes of sort of like control and not being able to get away, and like, I think they do a good job of thematically capturing that encounter without needing it to be more weighed in than it is. I think it is a fantastic album of being like one big storytelling epic over 40 tracks. None of the story is told outside of music. It's all through song.
And still much more manageable than actually reading the Odyssey.
Yeah, it is a pretty manageable take that has some lovely animatics if you like a little bit of visual to follow. I think it is well worth checking out. I'd been hearing individual tracks from it on TikTok every now and then.
It's funny because you played me one track and I was like, I know this from TikTok.
Yeah, that I think that was Dangerous.
Yes.
Which Yeah.
Dangerous, my friend.
Yeah, there's a few that were popular on TikTok. Like, Just a Man was popular on TikTok. Dangerous was definitely... one of the ones around Poseidon was doing the rounds for a while. But yeah, it's got some really good, really catchy tracks.
Yeah.
I very much recommend it.
Yeah.
What about you? What you been listening to?
Well, I want to tell you a legendary tale about a man who was half a man. Half horse.
He was half a man, half horse.
Yeah, so this is another track that's been floating around TikTok a lot recently. This is Half Horse, Half Man by OCT.
Mm-hmm.
And it is... The bits we had heard was about a centaur who was going on a date that it had all been going very well in chat and online, but they were due to meet this very night. And he was going to have to reveal that he was a centaur guy. And, yeah, the full version goes some additional places. And, yeah, it's funny, and it really captures that sort of 80s synthwavy vibe that I've been very much appreciating. And, yeah, having looked up that music video, ended up looking up a couple of their other tracks, including Dim Sum Paradise.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Dim Sum Paradise.
It's so catchy.
I can't think about the concept of dim sum without wanting to sing about this fictional dim sum restaurant.
You've got to. And the other one was Don't Touch My Clogs.
Don't Touch My Clogs. Another classic of me and the nerds that we will occasionally break out into. They know how to make a good, catchy...
Very 80s beat.
Very exaggerated and over the top, but deathly serious.
Yes, the music videos are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving me big was it Kung Fury vibes?
Yeah.
Like perfectly capturing that vision of the 80s that might not necessarily be true 80s. The sort of stuff that a lot of VHS horror does that might not necessarily be exactly what it was, but also like really manages to touch on that particular vibe that people are thinking of when they say that. I've really enjoyed it. It's very silly. I do love a comedy song. I look forward to hearing more of their stuff.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you listened to anything else?
How's it for me, really? 40 new songs I hadn't heard before was enough
fair.
For a week.
Yeah, I think that's entirely reasonable. The only other thing I've really listened to is I've just been like catching up on stuff, so I got caught back up to date with Night Vale. I've finished up to the end of season 11, is it, of Dice Funk?
Oh, yeah,
the last season. So, yes, I've heard to the ends of the ocean.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed that series. It was very good. I'm glad that Dice Funk is back to its former glory, and listening to like Austin talking about the in the lore episode. I wasn't the only one, and I don't feel bad about feeling that way about some of the other episodes.
Like, I was diplomatic at the time because diplomacy must, but I am glad to be having a lot of fun with Dice Funk at the moment.
I'm glad.
I'm having a good run of
for a while it
Dice
didn't sound
Funk.
like you were having fun, and that was very hard to listen to.
Look, there are certain points in Dice Funk where I was very excited to do the planned thing and then didn't get to do the planned thing.
I know.
It is what it is.
This is the thing that like nobody else really gets to experience, and it's you chatting through ideas for new characters for the new season, and like me occasionally like chiming in with like, "Hey, mate, what about this?" And like, not even if those things get picked up, but just like hearing those things bounce around and like knowing where a character might have gone and what a plan for it was for a character, and then for that just to not happen.
I'll say this, Barbella, I couldn't have predicted where she would have ended up.
True.
But it certainly wasn't a place I was opposed to. Like, I got to explore the thematic ideas I wanted to explore with Barbella.
Yes.
And that was great. I got to explore having a very religious character who is explicitly very fascinated and open to and not dismissive of other people's religious beliefs. And that was fun.
I think it's interesting because when you were coming up with Barbella, it was more of a, I've got way less sort of plans and thoughts and dreams for this characters. Yeah. It was very much a my character's just died, I've had to come up with another character on the spot almost kind of character design, but still very much coming from a place that is very you, like thinking about, and especially where you were at the beginning of that series of like, you had been having like lots of thoughts about like where you'd come from with regards to religion and stuff.
Yeah.
And I can see how that character comes from the sort of things bubbling around it.
Barbella was very specifically like, in part a direct response to the little flying elephant in the earlier season. I forget this elephant's name. That was like, oh, you asked one question about my religion, we're not friends anymore.
Yes.
And I wanted to have like the antithesis of that. But I also just wanted to have a religious character who didn't have all the answers about their own religion and was enjoying exploring in the space of it. And I wanted to have a religious character where I could quite genuinely believe the core beliefs of the religion was something I could find room to explore. How would you explore those religious beliefs? E.g. things like you doing scrying by opening the Book of Riddles to a random riddle and trying to determine meaning from the answer. Or even just looking at a random riddle and going, what does that make me feel? Like, because that just came out of the advice I used to get growing up, which was open the Bible to a random passage, read that passage, can you find a way that might apply to what you're praying on?
But like, you're being guided by unseen hands.
But like, riddles are inherently so open to interpretation and like you are supposed to ponder them. I was like, it just seemed like such fun ground.
Yeah, but if you compare that to, was it Nifix, your little chef friend?
Yeah.
A character that I remember you sitting for, like, most of a weekend, I think. And, like, talking through, like, all these ideas you had. And, like, I know a lot of people were very sad when that character died. But not nearly as much as I, who knew all of these possibilities.
Trust me, I fucking mourned that character's death. I think it was the correct choice to make in that moment.
Oh, 100%.
I think Dice Funk having a story like that once, I think, was really interesting. I have said this elsewhere, and I'll say it again. I'm not opposed to if we want to bring that character back, because resurrection magic does exist, and a world in which someone made the effort to bring part of her to the resurrection well, I would love to have her come back as a character. And I would be because we've deliberately not really brought back old characters, and like the big time jumps of seasons sort of discourage doing it anyway. But I kind of like the idea of this being a first time we bring a biological dead character back much later to exist in a different setting. I'd love to explore her again.
Yeah.
She was
a good character. But yeah, like, I very much enjoyed the most recent season. I've not listened to the Child Point stuff yet. But yeah, it's I've also sort of briefly gone back to SCP archives, because apparently I missed like 20-something episodes. So I've just... the last arc I had listened to was Class of 76, which, oh boy, that series went some places. I'm now on what... I'm gonna dub it like the alphabet season, which is like A is for this, B is for that, but it is still like picked series, picked episodes from whichever generation of SCP they're doing. I don't know if there is going to be some overarching connection between all these stories, and that's why they are being labelled in this way. But yeah, we've had some fascinating stories already, including the concept of eternity. In this, the SCP is, you don't have to do anything to contain this SCP, because it just happens. Anytime someone dies, they go into this pocket dimension that exists near to us physically in space, but far from us in other dimensions. And whenever you go in there, you will find yourself in an ocean with a small desert island. There will be 3 persons there of whichever your sexual preference is. And that's it. You can't die. and you have to sort of make your best for it. And they managed to somehow put tracking onto a person as they died, and this person was initially like, "Oh, this is quite chill. This is fun," but realised very quickly that they couldn't talk to the three people in there with them because they didn't really have any like internal world of their own, and they just got really bored fairly quickly. And first initially tried to escape from the island, and then realised it was sort of wrapping them back around to the start. Tried to build things, and then pull all those things apart because they realised they'd run out of building materials. And then piled all those things up and eventually tried to crush themselves to death under it. And then, like, 1,000 years later, were fully healed after that experience. And it goes from, like, here are the perils of the first few months, getting really bored, and here is the prevalence of, like, trillions, vinticillions of years later, of what this person has become and what they're experiencing, and it sounds frankly terrifying. Which I suppose is the point of SCP Archives, but some fascinating stories in there already. One was an endless road. Someone, like, pulled onto, like, an interstate highway and found that they were in some sort of anomalous highway where everyone is stuck in traffic and you can't really stop, and there's no sleep, and you can't really open your door because there's so much choking smog from all the cars. And if you try and get out of your car, everyone behind you will, like, start honking and shit.
You're stuck in the annoying, we're not gridlocked, but we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, like, travelling, like, a few inches per hour.
Yeah.
And, like, then, like, a whole group of people deciding to get out all at once, so that it was less of a problem that people were behind. Like, getting off onto the side of the road and trying to travel away. And then, where that story goes, because it's quite bleak... all the while, this one person who was like, I was supposed to be going home to see my kids, and I've, like, clearly missed a birthday, and I've missed like the festive period, and I've missed all this other shit. And I guess I suppose also kind of an eternity story, but yeah, that was like a harrowing story that seemed to be going on for like a year or maybe more than a year at some point. Yeah, there's some pretty bleak stuff in this season so far. But yeah, I am enjoying that. I tried to listen to more The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings.
Yeah.
But honestly, that series does sound design in a really unpleasant way. Like, there was just a story that was being told that I think the story on its own probably wouldn't have been too bad. Like, quite unpleasant.
Yeah.
I think it wallows more in, like, graphic gore and stories like that.
Yeah.
That I just don't have as much interest in. There was, and also I think the story I started listening was called The 1%, Part 1. And it was about it sort of started off being about a plastic surgeon who experiments on homeless people to try and make them quote-unquote perfect.
Okay, yeah.
But then, like, got completely side-roaded into this story about this 40-year-old woman who initially came in wanting her vocal cords modified so she could sound like a 9-year-old.
Oh.
And then the fact that she was, like, trying to live as a 9-year-old, and I was like, I am very uncomfortable about all of this story.
Yeah.
And, just... if anyone has any good ideas for, like, a good horror podcast that does weird, but doesn't, like, dwell on unnecessary gore and torture.
It's when I think about, like, the Magnus Archives and, like, their conversation they had once during one of the later seasons about we might have overstepped the line with one of the episodes because it got a little too close to just this is an unabstracted, like, real bad thing that happens, and we weren't detached from it enough.
Yeah, that was the story about somebody who was wrongfully imprisoned, I think.
Yeah, And it was just, the horror is, here is a very serious account of someone getting, like, abused in prison and whatever.
Yeah, like, there is some fantastical stuff in there, like the fact that the police interviewer later seems to be, like, either clones or the same person. There's some fantastical stuff in there, but not enough, as they said.
And, like, it sounds like, maybe not even the same problem, but, like, that sort of finding horror shows that, like, stay enough on that side of fantastical horror and not too much in, like, oh, this is just, like, lingering in real shit a bit uncomfortably.
Yeah. I'll not go into details, but that story was just, like, there is a bit involving this character who had a vocal cords tightened and was going for more and more extreme plastic surgeries. She had somebody who was chained to a bed and had an infected eye. And if you know that story, she was doing the eye thing that I just was like, no thank you.
No thanks.
I don't need to dwell on this, thank you very much. I'm just very uncomfortable about this whole story. It's fucking... It's not my vibe. Yeah. I guess we found my level. But yeah, that's everything I've listened to. What about you?
That's about it for me.
Well then.
Time for this.
What the fuck is this?
That's my current fastest time for the grating the cheese.
The shit! Look, you've thrown half the cheese away.
Well, yeah, I was trying to grate it faster. You kept saying faster. I ignored the wobbly lines at the side of my vision.
Well, what about this onion chopping?
Okay,
the mess you made of this.
Okay, well, I only had time to chop it like 6 times. I threw it in the bowl. It was technically chopped. All I had to do was chop it to get through the phase. I didn't have to do it well.
This chicken's only breaded on one side.
Yeah, it was quicker to fail the task than it was to complete it, chef.
How am I supposed to turn you into an idiot sandwich if you've cut this brioche so awkwardly?
You're right. That's not quite...
What are you?
I'm an idiot sandwich.
You're an idiot brioche.
I'm an idiot brioche.
You're an idiot brioche.
I'll speedrun the game faster. I'll do better at cooking, Mama.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for coming in. It's lovely that you managed to get here for 7. Obviously, I appreciate you all coming in early. So I think it's very important for us as a team. As a team, you know, we're not really going to make those first quarter numbers unless we can if we can all level up. So let's see what you've got. So what have you got then?
I mean, I don't think we need to level up. We've been doing all the work, grinding all the jobs that need doing, earning all the experience. We're all, like, max level already.
I mean, that is a very big sword you've got there and some very sparkly armour.
Oh, that is unique, one-of-a-kind endgame armour from doing the post-game raid. And, yeah.
So, you think maybe a pizza party's in order?
I mean, leveling up's not a bad idea, but I don't think we need to do it.
Right. So, I think you're ready to present all this to the boss, then?
What level are you again?
I mean, obviously it's not really about me. Obviously, it's about the team as a whole. I'm sure the party levels, but I'm 3. And you? How?
Higher than that. Yeah. Put some work in.
Well, I mean, obviously, I had to facilitate this meeting, and I've got a meeting with middle management at 9, and obviously the higher-ups are still very afraid of that Mario fellow, and so they've not really been coming out of the boardroom. Yes, I'll take that suggestion on board, and maybe we can workshop that at another time. Thanks everyone for coming in. I've got to head off now. Bye.
You should be glad there's no PvP in this office.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brochure Justice Warriors.
Brochure Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
Right, Harry. Right, mate. How you doing?
Oh,
January blues and all that, mate. But looking forward to nice long weekend coming up.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, it's cold and dark, but we every day's a day closer to the summer again.
Indeed. You been up so much, mate?
Not much. You?
Yeah, well, I've been watching all the chaos surrounding the TikTok ban and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really interesting phenomenon happening this week, of course, because there's been a lot of sort of thought around what caused the TikTok ban. Obviously, the US, the senators were saying that the reason for it was that it was Chinese stealing American citizens' data, and they were just trying to protect people. Then you had people suggesting that it was Mark Zuckerberg had lobbied, spent millions, possibly billions of dollars lobbying various senators to try and get people back into like Instagram and Facebook and the metaverse. Yeah. But it's been really interesting this week hearing about more and more people on from the American side of TikTok evacuating to I believe it's called Red Note or Xiaohongshu. I think it might be.
I think Xiaohongshu is. I've heard that mentioned once or twice, but I think that's no correction. I was going to say this is out of character. I was going to say that's the thing that the CGI dollar bill says as he flies away. But I think that was specifically like it was the fucking Chinese TikTok equivalent. Yes. Xiaohongshu, I think might be it, but everyone's calling it Red Note.
Red Note, and this is an app that is. I've heard it compared to Tumblr, Pinterest, and TikTok.
Like the thing I'm hearing is it's sort of TikTok. If TikTok was sort of more focused on product reviews of like fashion and restaurants, and it was a place people go to get recommendations. And it's functionally TikTok, but it's got a different sort of community ecosystem.
But seems to have quite a lot of cats. As well, which are always nice to see. But what's been really interesting is the people like reporting on how that has been going. Like, for instance, apparently the humour has been very good. A lot of the Chinese users over there making jokes to the Americans about, hi, I'm your Chinese spy. I've been watching you for years. It's nice to have you, come over. Lots of people talking about that they've been approached by Chinese people who want to help with their English homework. And in turn, a lot of the Americans have been learning Mandarin Chinese, which has been quite interesting. And it's fascinating how this feels like it has absolutely backfired on the US government.
I think if there is any chance of TikTok not getting banned in the US right now, it is if the messaging gets up to government officials of, oh shit, they went and joined the Chinese app and they're talking to Chinese people now. Yeah. The thing that because the thing is, so much of America's rhetoric politically right now, around being scared of people from other countries, China is the big scary enemy country that like we don't engage with. It's full of nothing but evil people.
And now people are meeting people, and people are going, "Well, you're just like me, really."
Yeah, you're looking for a silly little video app and having a bit of fun about global events. Like, anything that is rapidly going to increase interaction between people from America and China, I don't think is achieving what the US government thought they were achieving by banning TikTok.
It's been quite interesting because obviously you've had older American critics saying like, well, what do you say to these people who've gone over to Red Note? What are the Chinese netizens' response to things like the treatment of the Uyghurs and things like Tiananmen Square? And the Americans' response has very much been, we're supporting a genocides in Israel. We've got the oligarchy, we've got the technocracy. Trying to remember. Technocracy, and like all of the problems, all of the racism and all the other problems that America has, and just going, well, are we indeed perfect? All of these things need to be sorted. Agreed, but you can't just point at another country and go, well, that's that's much worse than anything we've done, especially when the country that's doing the finger pointing in this case is the United States.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been quite fascinating how people have met people on the other side of the world, and those people have been very welcoming, quite kind and generous. They've been funny. Like I've heard like about obviously like the I've been your spy. I've also heard like the cat tax.
Oh yeah.
You must submit a picture of your cat to pay the red note tax.
My favourite joke I've seen between the two sides so far is some of the American people going, "Don't worry, I'll make my username my social security number, so that my Chinese spy knows where to find me on the new app."
I saw one pundit put it as rather than being told that they are they're in danger and their data is being sold to the Chinese Communist government, some TikTok refugees are literally stripping naked and sitting on the grill and just handing China their data because, and I if anything, this could be the biggest backfire of them all. That they have met the quote unquote dangerous enemy, and the enemy turned out to be very nice and liked cats as well.
Wouldn't it be something if we had
years of propaganda?
Well, I was going to say, look,
down.
A month or two back we had Luigi Manchino. Yeah. Now we got this going on. Wouldn't it be nice if we were in a year or so's period of people having moments of class solidarity and realising that maybe they were pointed at the wrong enemy at certain times, and maybe should have been looking at,
We all might have problems with our government, but we as people, very much,
maybe some solidarity is starting to form.
Speaking of solidarity, do you fancy a hug?
Oh, yeah.
Good hug, mate. Good hug. Right, well, I'm off to pay the cat tax.
Oh, sounds fun.
Nice.
So, Laura.
Yes?
You do things on the internet.
Where
do things be?
You can find the stuff I do on the internet at Laura K. Buzz, pretty much everywhere. Stuff that will be up this week includes a review of the Proteus controller. Look out for that over on YouTube. Check out Twitch at Laura K. Buzz if you want to check out Cookie Mama Cookstar speedruns. I will probably have some videos up about the Switch 2 by the time that this goes up, with whatever we get shown this week, and sort of delving into some of that. Will we see confirmation of the Joy-Con being a mouse? Will we find out what the C button does? I'll hopefully know some of those answers and have opinions about them, probably. Other than that, keep an eye out in February for a board game accessibility thing that's maybe coming, which you should look forward to. It's coming. We've made 4 out of 6 of the things, and it's gonna be cool. We got to finish putting it all together, but look forward to it. What about you? Where are you out on the internet?
Well, I have a link tree. It's linktree.ee/Janiac, JANEIAC. You can find the things I've written, the t-shirts I've designed, the music I've made, all of that good stuff. And you can help support me at patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. As little as $1 a month really helps. And it's my birthday in 2 days, so consider a drop if you're feeling kind and like buying me cake. Cake. That's all for me. So, Laura.
Yes?
Will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.